God is with us. God has been with us since the beginning of time. Christmas is a reminder of us when God became human in this world to live with us. And that love is not contained to a season at all. It is a way of life. Today we have one scripture text and then a thought from Charles Dickens. The scripture is, "The virgin shall conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God with us. And then Charles Dickens said this. Actually, it was Scrooge who said it in the movie. He said, "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year." God with us. Emmanuel, light, God with us. Do you realize on the 14th and 15th, I think were the exact days, Amazon sold 175 million items? Confess if perhaps a couple of them might have gone to your house. Certainly you don't have to do that. Isn't that amazing? 175 million items. This is more than they sold on Black Friday last year and Cyber Monday. Both of them combined. It was the internet's giant, most successful day in the 21st century. So I saw that and I thought, it's time for the garden to have a prime day. So we're going to do a little Christmas in July and get people back to church. And God darn it looked like that gimmick worked. So good to see so many of you here today. Yeah, I agree. So you know how this Christmas in July thing all got started? It was actually started during the recession. Did you know that? During the recession, retailers were trying to figure out how to get people back in the stores, and somebody came up with the brilliant idea of Christmas in July. And they started decorating their stores, and they had Christmas trees up, and some of them have actually never taken them down. You always think it's Christmas. And that's how they worked people back into the stores. And since then, we continue to do this Christmas in July thing. We keep trying to find a way to keep Christmas, retail Christmas, in the upper part of people's brains. Made me think about those of us who call ourselves Christian. How do we keep the spirit of Christmas in the upper part of the brain, but even more so in someone's heart? How do we constantly remind this world that God is with us? God came into this world in the form of a helpless baby that needed to be cared for by humanity, and that baby, the love of that baby, continues need to be cared for by this humanity. God is with us. Let's start looking like God is with us. As I mentioned in the opening, to be truthful, we really don't know when Jesus was born. It could have been July, it could have been summer. Truth is, the traditional celebration of Christmas at the shortest time of the year seems appropriate, doesn't it? Because during a season of darkness, the world's greatest light came into the world. Not only did that light come into the world, but that light came into the world in a very small way in a manger. What keeps us from being mindful of that tiny light that changes the world? Are we too obsessed with 175 million items that we purchase? Are we too obsessed with how it is we're going to keep things in this world rolling on a big scale instead of being mindful of that little teeny tiny light? I bring this up today because I do think that this is the perfect season to be mindful of God with us. I mean, the sun comes up way early, doesn't it? The heat of the day reminds us that we have a bright light and sun. And then it's light like way on until 9 p.m. What a beautiful reminder that God is with us, not just in December, but July and all the months in between. Maybe we don't celebrate this love and this light with God with us because we like the idea of anticipation or the season of waiting, the Advent season. I mean, we all like the idea of anticipating something that's going to happen. But the truth is when you're going to have a baby or you have a new baby in your family, that anticipation doesn't start the 30 days before the baby is born, does it? It starts once you know you're going to have a baby. Just yesterday, a member of my family, I got a text with these images from one of these 3D sonograms. And I knew she was pregnant, but I assumed it still was like a bean. And it could still be. I don't know how pregnant she is, but there was this bean. Like it's a regular baby. Like you can see a baby, his little hand or her hand is like this going, oh my gosh, I'm going to be bored as Scanlon. Little feet. So this time yesterday, I didn't know. I knew we were having a baby, but, my family, there's 150 of them every spring or every December. But this one, I now have a relationship with this one. And what's so funny is I've been so funny about these reveal parties. I want to know what this one's going to be. Because I now have a relationship with a baby in my family that's going to be here in about December. We love that, don't we? We love that anticipation. And if you've been like me going, oh, a pink cake or a blue cake, get over it because it's a really cool thing. It's a really cool thing that these kids are doing, and it's very exciting to see how the anticipation of the birth of a baby never changes throughout history. In fact, a really important part of the Christmas story is when Elizabeth, who is pregnant, and Mary, who is pregnant, they get together, and Elizabeth is pregnant with John, Mary with Jesus, and they get together, and the babies kind of encounter each other, and John, the little baby John, leaps for joy, and there's just this amazing energy and anticipation, and that's a beautiful story to share around the Christmas season, but it's also a beautiful story to share anytime. Because indeed, God is always bringing new life into this world. And there is always something to celebrate. Because as long as there is new life coming into the world, God is with us. The light and the love of Christ is with us and can guide us. That happiness that comes with anticipation doesn't just hang around for a season. No, it can be with us always. Always. Do you remember layaway? Do you remember layaway? So, kids, back in our day, before credit cards were really all that popular, you would pick out something you wanted for someone, right? And you would go and you would put it on layaway, and week after week you would go and pay a little bit more for that item. And then when you finally had it paid off, ta-da, the Easy Bake Oven appeared, or whatever it was. That was layaway. That was pretty amazing. But there's something about layaway that makes me think about how we deal with Christmas. We kind of put Christmas on layaway, too. Oh, I'm going to get around to that. I'm going to get around to that starting December 1st, and then I'm going to freak out because I have 500 cookies to make, and I've got to get the house decorated, and we've got to plan the parties, and we've all got to get around together. And why not have a Christmas party now? Why not celebrate God with us now? Why? I can tell you why we don't do it. In preparation for this children's message, it wasn't this one. It just so happened that the Christmas cards were a lot closer than baby Jesus in the closet. I'd been at camp all week. I preached 11 times. You need to feel really sorry for me because that's exhausting. And I got back last night, and on the children's message. And I had this message in my head. I was going to bring out the baby Jesus and no nativity. And look at the baby Jesus is with us always. Well, I'm telling you what. The baby Jesus is beyond the Christmas cards, beyond the big tree, beyond the ornaments, beyond the. I think the nativities went way back in the closet, so to be safe. And quite frankly, I didn't have the energy to get baby Jesus out of the closet and bring him here this morning. Yeah, in the shower this morning, I'm like, duh! That's exactly what we do. We put him away. We're going to talk about him and remind people this is the way we live our life with the love of Christ in December when we get him out again. When people say, oh, you have great nativities. Please don't give me another one. Yes, we do. We have beautiful nativities. But that baby Jesus, I'm telling you, I'm not putting him away this year. I'm going to leave him right where those nativities sit so I can be reminded that he needs to live in my life and in my heart on a regular basis. I put him away. I put him in layaway. I went off to camp. Didn't really think much about him until we sang some Christmas music. I think we all do that in some way or another. We take this spirit of Christmas, we contain it to a season, we put Jesus back in the back of the closet, and we get around to it again next year, and usually have a pretty nasty attitude about it because it's just one more thing to do. Friends, I think Christmas in July is a wonderful reminder that God gifted us. God gifted us with God's very best. His name is Jesus, came in the form of a tiny baby, King of Kings, and he has no business stuck up in the Christmas stuff all year round. Makes me think about the power of the risen Lord that we talk about at Easter. We live in the power of this risen Lord, right? So this baby came, went on a cross, went down underneath. Can you tell I've been at camp singing those songs? Under the grave he went. Went under the grave, came up, rose again, right? Do we put him away with the Easter eggs? Do we put him away with every one of these seasons? I think we do, because we as Christians like to be politically correct. We like to fit into the world. Well, guess what? Jeff Bezos is doing just fine. Jesus is struggling a little bit right now. We need to keep him right here. We need to keep that love and light right here. It needs to be stronger than Twitter. It needs to be stronger than anything in this world where negative energy is put out there. We need to keep the baby Jesuses out all year round. We need to be mindful of the risen Lord all year round, because that's all the energy we need to survive this world. Maybe if you're not looking forward to August, maybe if you're a little overwhelmed by this going back to school thing, maybe if life and the negativity of life is getting too strong, you need to go home today and find the baby Jesus. Maybe what you need to do today is to find a way to put lights and love in your heart. And if it helps, put them on your house. Wouldn't that be great to drive your neighbors crazy right now? I live in a condo complex. And just say, I need a little light of Jesus in my life. There's too much negativity in this world. I'm doing this as an action to share and live into that light. Friends, there is good news today. The baby came, went to the cross, went to the grave, came up again so that we could live a rich, whole, full life. We need a little Christmas right this minute and every minute of our day. We need a little energy like Elizabeth and Mary, that anticipation that something good is going to happen instead of turning on cable news to see what already bad has happened. That's the energy that's going to transform this world. We need to put the same kind of energy into that as we do into the Prime Day, where they send you an email. I mean, it's brilliant. What a brilliant marketing thing. We may have something you want. And you click on it. Just what I needed, another meat thermometer, but I got it. Why? Because Jeff Bezos knows I like meat thermometers. Jesus knows I like love and light. And what I have to do is to make him as relevant as Amazon has become relevant in my life. It's time to find Jesus again, to find the joy, and to share the most wonderful news in the world. Everything we're looking for is not going to come in a brown box from Prime. Everything we're looking for is here now, as real as the air we breathe in this room. It's a love, it's a light, and it's a mercy that can guide us through any struggle or challenge we're having. I invite you today to consider putting the light of Christmas into your heart today, putting the love of Christ at the center of your life, and tell the world that God is with us, because God has been amazingly generous with us. May we go forth and be generous in this world. Amen.